we talked about Jalen Hurts on Monday's show, and we talked about the fact that, like, a lot of these national media people, and we had both ESPN and FS1 represented on this show, including at least one show that got canceled in the time since. But there were some pretty wild takes going on in the national media since Monday's show about Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to throw it first to a guy that you could pretty much always guarantee is going to have the Eagles back, is certainly going to have Jalen Hurts back. And that's none other than Kyle Brandt. Because Kyle Brandt tends to be one of the, more outspoken guys. He's a louder voice, but man, he typically has his pulse. He has his finger on the pulse of the league. What about to Kyle Brandt? Because again, if you remember, Jalen Hurts, number 9 quarterback on a list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League, according to executives, coaches, and scouts. And we kind of dissected why that was nonsense on Monday. There's actually another bit of info, and it had to do with wide receivers, which we'll get to in a bit. But I want to go out to Kyle Brandt first, because I just like listening to Kyle Brandt get passionate about the Eagles. So, there's your Kyle Brandt of the day. And he's right. And again, this came back to some of the stuff that we talked about on Monday's show, about what do you value the most? Isn't the thing that you're supposed to value the most the guy who ultimately leads your team to a Super Bowl, preferably wins it, and a guy who is a Super Bowl MVP? Like the Justin Herbert love is wild. I will stand resolute in the belief that Joe Burrow, despite being a very good quarterback, still remains an overrated quarterback because the playoffs have been an issue. Rough starts to regular seasons are not entirely on him, but they have been a consistent theme, especially over the last few years. And then you have guys that can't make the playoffs, can't get the job done, can't find a way to get past Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs in the AFC, and yet we're supposed to believe that they're top 2 guys, they're top 3 guys, they're top 4 guys. I'm just not totally sold on it. Now, the thing that was the most surprising, though, the thing that honestly was disappointing, was I saw Colin Cowherd with some thoughts on Jalen Hurts. And I truly thought that it was going to be a better take than this. And I found myself being legitimately disappointed because, as I've said on this show a bunch of times, I really do think that Colin Cowherd is one of the best who talks into a microphone and talks about sports on a national level. And so, really quickly, I found a shorter version because the 3-minute version made me almost rip my hair out. But I want to go out to Colin Cowherd quick because he has this rationale for why he thinks that Jalen Hurts could be number 9 and why it's a fair evaluation, which it's not, but we'll go out here real quick.
Coaches and scouts released their top 10 quarterback, and it went in this order: Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, Goff, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield.
I still don't get the Goff thing. That's another one that I don't understand, but we'll keep going.
About as close to my list as you can get. The reaction on Jalen Hurts, who, wins the Super Bowl being 9, was predictable. This is a bunch of...
Sirianni, by the way, came out and said it's bullshit. We'll keep going.
Nonsense. I can't believe it. Take a deep breath. The Eagles' offense was top 10 in everything: pass blocking, run blocking, rushing, receiving. Yet they were 21st in actually passing.
Interesting. The top 10 in receiving, but you're 21st in passing is weird, but okay.
Oh, by the way, 11 of his 32 total touchdowns came on rushes of 1 or fewer yards. Take out the tush push, he had the same number of touchdowns as Bryce Young.
Well, it's a shame that, you have to actually count the play. It is a shame that, just because it fits a narrative, you have to actually acknowledge that those are still touchdowns. Sure. Yeah. Fine. Yeah, he's Bryce Young.
Passed the ball less than any team in the NFL at 24 times a game. Jalen Hurts is...
That was post-bye week. There was a post-bye week adjustment, but we're going to get to that because somebody who talked into that same microphone actually refuted his point a day before.
Responsible for that.
All right, so that was Colin Cowherd. Now, the reason that I show you that is because, as I mentioned, somebody who was on his show, somebody who was talking into that same microphone a day before was Jason McIntyre. And here's the beauty of what Jason McIntyre had to say. He goes on, he's filling in for Colin Cowherd on The Herd, and he absolutely decimates this argument about Hurts not being a good pocket passer, about Hurts not being able to get the job done. I'm going to cut into part of why it's all nonsense, right? Because we talk about this whole idea that, well, Jalen Hurts isn't as good of a pocket passer as some of these other guys. He's certainly not the pocket passer that Burrow is. He's not even as good of a pocket passer as Lamar, not as good of a pocket passer as Josh Allen. Somehow Jared Goff, sure, really quick. We're going to throw it out here because these are stats that when you get into arguments online, when you get into arguments with your friends, your group chat, your dad, your uncle, these are some numbers that are going to be worth kind of throwing out there about last year.
Better than Jalen Hurts? Oh, Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick. That's right. First impressions matter.
So this is a good point, by the way, and I cut most of it out. But McIntyre talks about how Hurts is the only guy who wasn't a first-round pick. And so there's this notion out there that because you were taken in the first round, because Jared Goff was taken as high as he was in the first round, that kind of sets this expectation going forward that he must be as good as whatever that draft pick was. He must be as good as a first-round pick. So we're going to extend him grace because he was a first-rounder. Hurts wasn't. But here you go.
Now, we did have a spirited chat because I'm very bullish on Hurts. I have him unequivocally number 5. These executive coaches and scouts have Jaden Daniels at 5, and that's fine. Jaden Daniels was amazing last year. Let's see the numbers on Jalen Hurts from the pocket, because this is the big knock on Jalen Hurts.
We're going to pause on it. Take a look at those numbers. Jalen Hurts from the pocket in 2024 in the regular season. 74% completion percentage, 8.5 yards per pass attempt, 109.7 passer rating. Those are respectively 2nd, 3rd, and 5th in the NFL. He threw 14 touchdowns from the pocket, only 4 interceptions.
He doesn't win from the pocket. Oh, really? Well, I have actual data that flies in the face of the idea that Hurts doesn't win from the pocket. He was 2nd in completion percentage, and it's not a check down Charlie.
And we're actually going to, I think we're going to skip ahead because this is the other part that I wanted to get to. I just like the graphic. Jason McIntyre did a good job, but it's more about the graphics. Look at the completion percentage year over year over year. 2024 was the highest completion percentage he had. And just a reminder, 2 of these 3 years, the Eagles went to a Super Bowl. And in both years, Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. 72.6%, 71%, 74%. The touchdown to interception ratio got kind of weird in that 2023 season where they had the internal promotion at offensive coordinator that did not work out. Your passing yards per attempt, roughly the same 2022 and 2024. Passer rating jumped back up considerably, almost 18 points from where it was in 2023. This notion that he's not a good pocket passer is kind of nonsensical. Now, there are people like Colin Cowherd who will point out the fact that the Eagles didn't throw the ball nearly as much as other teams and that they were 21st in passing, and all that is fair. It's about the efficiency of that passing game. Hurts executes. But when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley in the backfield, you're going to feed that beast. And when that guy realistically could have broken the regular season rushing record if you had played him in the final game of the season, or if he had decided to go back into that Giants game where he said, no, let the young guys eat. Like, if you have that guy, you're going to get that guy involved in the game. That's how it's supposed to work. It's part of a balanced attack. When Hurts was called upon to pass and pass from the pocket, albeit not as many times as some of the other guys on the top 10 list, he executed. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. And ultimately, he delivered a Super Bowl to this team. Those other guys, many of them haven't even sniffed a Super Bowl.